friend of mine came down from Glasgow and gave him the attic room. The next morning he reported having woke up in the middle of the night, screaming, believing somebody was sitting on his chest and holding him by the wrists.
This house is haunted, but not by the dead. You are very much undead. I will be your friend if you don't tell a soul, and if you lie, I'll read it in your eyes of coal.
A female friend who knew nothing of this incident asked one night several weeks later if she could sleep somewhere else rather than in the attic. She spoke of there being a feeling up there.
This house is haunted, where others just fled. I'm intrigued and I'm staying instead. I like a plain girl if you like a dull boy, and I've got a hammer you may wish to employ.
She insisted that the presence was that of two men, that they were playful, nosy, were interested in my music. In a sense, I'd invited them by writing this song.
And when I kiss your face, cold and blue, when I kiss your face, I can look right through. This house is haunted, but not by the dead. You are very much instead.
Visiting the attic over the following days, the air in the room seemed to have a congealed quality, not unlike that of a heavily soundproofed chamber. Coming down the stairs and switching off the light at the top, I sensed a presence sort of localised at the back of my head, moving closely with me until I reached the 100-watt bleached landing. It stayed at my fingers here. They looked diseased. For this track, there's some feedback on here from a guitar and a valve amp that was recorded in London in 1980. It still plays. Let's see how old it is. There's the address, 2 Elliot Road, West 4, above, I lived above a barber shop, Jimmy's. Can I have a listen on headphones just to find the place for it?
What were you doing in 1980 then?
Postman. Terrible combinations of clothes. I went around, I'm sure I bought a pair of chef's trousers and used to walk around wearing chef's trousers with white slip-on shoes with a big tongue in them, the rings, and a rugby top, a West Ham rugby top. It must have looked like a... Somehow I got it in my head that chef's trousers looked okay. I really love this unmusical type of stuff. It's just so wayward, you just don't know what it's going to do. Great.
The car goes past it.
Yeah. Just moving the guitar really, really subtly, you know, just doing this. Terrible guitar, it was a Les Paul copy, really heavy, and it kept going out of tune.
Sounds just like a normal Les Paul, but they are really heavy, they go out of tune all the time.
Yeah.
That's quite cool, yeah.
Sounds nice.
As a small girl, whenever she heard a sudden high-pitched whistle in her head, she believed she was receiving a calling to rescue someone in crisis. But wherever she looked, she found no one, and when it was gone, she felt guilty for whoever had asked to be rescued, and who she had never got to in time. The girl grew up, never married, and settled down beneath a flight path in Hounslow. She was diagnosed with tinnitus and waited to be rescued.
You might want to have a glass of water. I mean, you've had a couple of cups of tea today,
Yeah.
so the milk's probably not helping.
Yeah, I'll try that then.
Have a bit of a glass of water
Then I'll run through again.
and do it again, yeah.
What is this that you keep under your bed?
It's just all sorts of things, articles, drawings, pictures out of magazines. I quite like this, there's a nice kind of geometry to it. It's quite nice. It's quite creepy in a way, I think. Something about that. Kitsch. I've written on here, on train to Chesterfield. It's almost, makes me think of ice cream bands, but it's a little bit too sinister, that tune, isn't it?
Do you think a lot of these children's things that you keep, does it influence what you write about?
Yeah, it's that old thing, isn't it, of adults trying to see through children's eyes again and how difficult that is.
The dog with the old man's face is clawing at the door, in love with the mistress who weeps, arms in semaphore. The mouse he watches from a pile of shalloon, taciturn velvet in the dog day afternoon.
Carsey, tell me how you came up with that title.
I was back in my hometown and me and my sister were just out walking and just reminiscing about different parts of Dumbarton, seeing we've been away for so long. I purposely went out to look at house names and I was after some names, so I wrote down about, I don't know, 8 or 9 house names.
With the old man's face is clawing.
And that was the one that I went for, it just seemed to fit. So I was trying to get a feeling of like decayed opulence or something, you know. And it was odd because both me and my sister were saying how strange it feels to actually just walk around streets that you've not lived in for 20 odd years. You feel a bit like a ghost walking around there. Nobody knows you anymore. Who would recognise you anyway? I was thinking of a house like, in Iris Murdoch's The Sea to Sea, this house on the edge of a cliff, you know, that's fairly dilapidated. Just thinking around those lines.
It's a holiday.
That's the setting in a house. So. And also I wanted to stick with the one word titles. Because sort of, that's like one of my musical manifestos. The old tracks just have one word titles.